Welcome back to Call for Help. You know how if you get really close to your TV screen and you watch really carefully, you can see the picture kind of blinking? Well, it has to do with how the video is scanned, but rather than making you go cross-eyed trying to figure it all out, we've got Steve Gibson here to explain the difference.
Cross-eyed this way.
Yeah, with math. It's something actually that still comes up. It's interlace versus progressive.
It's still an issue today. It began in the old days, the old CRT, the so-called cathode ray tube. Mm-hmm. They use an electromagnetic deflection, basically a wire coil. The wire coil had so much inductance.
Well, first of all, we should talk about how TV is made. So this is the tube itself. That's
right.
You're looking at the picture here.
Right.
There's phosphors coating that tube.
Right.
And electrons are shot at the phosphors to make them glow.
An electron beam is generated by an electron gun, as it's called, back in the throat of the tube. Mm-hmm. The beam comes forward, and then there's two sets of coils, one for X and one for Y. And essentially what they do is, without them, the beam would go straight to the center.
And you have one big glowing dot.
One glowing dot. And in fact, when in the old days, when
you turn it off,
you would see that.
Yeah.
And if something like, remember tubes, if a tube would die, sometimes you would get a line if it was only scanning in the horizontal or sometimes a vertical.
So this deflector aims the electron beam.
It steers the beam, exactly.
To draw a picture.
Exactly. And so the idea
it doesn't draw it like an Etch-a-Sketch all over the thing. It draws it in lines at a line at a time.
A so-called raster scan. Mm. And that's what a raster scan is it's a scan line of horizontal. So the beam is going like this all the time, and then the color is being changed, and the intensity is being changed in order to give you a resulting image.
Okay.
The problem is that the first generation, the original cathode ray tubes, which many people still have in their sets at home today, it was unable to generate the entire picture often enough. That is 60 times per second. Anything that isn't refreshed, the human eye will see a flicker at somewhere below about 50 hertz.
Now that puzzles me because a movie is only 24 frames a second.
Exactly, except that the frame is lit for most of the time and only blacks out when the frame changes.
Right.
Whereas here, the beam is at a certain spot on the screen and it doesn't come back until it comes back around.
So your TV is really flickering all the time.
Well, in fact, yes, and you can see that. Sometimes if computer graphics is displayed where there's a thin horizontal line, it'll be flickering because that's only actually being shown 30 times per second.
Well, we almost told you not to wear this shirt because of the thin lines on it, but they're not thin enough to buzz.
And they're far enough apart that it won't buzz. If it was a really tight check, you would see, or like someone wearing a herringbone suit, for example.
We've all seen that. It buzzes, it vibrates.
Exactly.
So why is that?
What happens is that because of the technology, we were never able to paint the entire screen off,
just couldn't move fast enough.
It couldn't move fast enough. What the clever engineers figured out that if they set the two frequencies of the refresh to a result which divided by a half, 262.5. These scan lines on a TV are not actually horizontal; they're actually sloped slightly. What happens is if you scan it 15,750 times per second horizontally, which is very fast, and 60 times per second down, what actually happens is you scan 262 and a half lines, then you come back to the top and you catch this scan halfway through. What happens is it interleaves the next field halfway between the prior one.
So I don't follow the math, but I get the idea. It's drawing
it fills in.
It's drawing half the screen and then comes back and does the other half.
So you do every other line, then you come back and you fill in. So visually, the line next to the one before sort of stands in for it. So even though it would be flickering if it was only being refreshed 60 times, essentially, or rather 30 times, essentially this gives it the ability to fill in.
Right.
So this interlacing or interleaving of two fields to make a full frame, that allowed us to compensate in the old days for CRTs that just could not scan fast enough.
But why do we still do it? Because nowadays, don't we have we're not using CRTs
Well,
anymore.
and in fact, yes, anybody who has a non-tube, like
an LCD
an
panel
LCD or a plasma, exactly, those are actually able to do what's called progressive display.
Right.
And now purists believe that progressive display is more, and they say it's more film-like,
Right.
because a film displays the entire frame at a time.
I wonder if this will work. I asked Sean if he could. You think that's a small enough line? Will we get some jitter on that?
If you hold it exactly horizontally.
Oh yeah, you see, there we go. We're getting a little. It's buzzing a little bit, huh?
Yeah, actually pulling back further ought to show it.
Yeah,
better
the lines are too big.
Yeah,
we want to make them thinner.
and you can see a little bit of a moire
Oh
effect.
my gosh, that's not so good. This is why people don't wear stuff like this on TV. So you're actually seeing the impact of that.
The effect of...
Look at their buzzing. It's buzzing right there on the left.
Perfect example, yes. And so that is... It's just the effect of not refreshing the whole screen. We're only refreshing every other field, and you get that automatic buzz. Now,
wow, that's terrible.
in HD land,
but we wouldn't get that on an LCD screen. Because it's refreshing 60 times a second.
Actually, you do get it on an LCD because it's still using what's called NTSC. The original NTSC signal is interleaved. Now, if you had this on a DVD and you told your DVD player that I have a progressive capable LCD or plasma, then the DVD player is able to send the whole field at once and not interleave. Then it runs in progressive mode.
So if somebody were watching this on a progressive TV, they wouldn't have seen that buzzing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Although again, it's been interleaved for transmission, so it would then be de-interleaved and made progressive.
Right.
Now, this is all like dinosaur stuff. Although lots of people still have CRTs.
Right.
I mean, I do.
I do too.
Yeah. So in HD world, we have a different problem, and you mentioned at the beginning of the show the 720p and 1080i.
These are high definition specs.
And this is where we're talking about in the future.
Right.
With new technology, we're able to send with digital technology a 720 line image in progressive mode. That is, all at once, get the whole thing out, then come back and do another frame.
So it looks better for two reasons. It's higher resolution, it's about 50% more resolution, and it's progressive. You're not getting these flickers.
Right.
So that's why a high def screen looks better.
Right.
But wait a minute, when we go to 1080i, why is it still interlaced?
What's happened is that's so much information that again we've hit another.
We can't keep up.
We've hit another bottleneck. In the same way that the CRT couldn't scan the entire frame fast enough. Our data transmission isn't fast enough to send all 1080 lines at once. So again, we cheat, we interleave, and so we're only sending half those lines, 540. We send 540, and then another 540 to fill in the gaps.
Now there are newer TVs that are 1080p. The technology has started to catch up with the data rate, but there's not a lot of 1080p content.
It's hard to find the material because we're talking gigawatts of.
Well, we are literally. In fact,
content.
Amber and I do an internet TV show that is shot 1080p, and it is a gigabyte every 10 seconds. It's a huge amount of data.
Huge amount of data.
And in fact, most
the problem is you just can't send it through the air.
Right.
And there's wires that'll hold it.
Well, we don't have to. It's an internet TV show, so we can do that. But most PCs can't play it back. You
can't even display it. They don't have the horsepower.
That's right. You have to have a very high-end computer.